Hi, Hayden out here. Mother Nature is making a lot of noise. That comes and goes. So there's nothing I can do about that. And some wind might happen too. Again, Mother Nature, blame her for it. Sounds like the bug is calming down. Thank you. Anyways, what I want to talk about in this video is going to be a mixed bag of things. We'll talk about a couple of different things in the video. So it ought to be interesting pretty much all the way through. What I'm going to talk about is trimming the trees, stuff like that, things that I'm working on. I'm also going to talk about fires and fire safety and things like that. Also, a couple of experimental things with that. Like the microphone here is just simply clipped onto the outside of my shirt, not even trying to be professional about it at all because I'm worried about safety. It's also, I'm outside, it's hot, it's Central Florida, and in no time whatsoever, I'm gonna be feeling like I'm wearing a whole bunch of water balloons and I'm gonna be soaking wet. I have to dress head to toe, that's why I'm standing in the shade. I cannot be out in the sun, okay? I'll talk about that in a later video. And my wife, Miss Demeanor, is very concerned that I'm getting too much sun, even being all covered up. So I got extra sun protection, and I'll be getting more later on. I'll talk about that in a later video. Right now, let's talk about trees. This is a tree that I trimmed up in the subject of this video. This one here is a tree that I did a few days ago. Again, much like this large tree over here in the background, those limbs are really low, and I got to duck, bob, and weave around those branches. The lowest of the low of those branches, the lowest hanging ones, are all I'm going to trim up, unless there's a large, and there's at least one large limb that's way up in the air, grows way down, and is right in the area to punch me and knock me out. You know, that'd be interesting to see, and I don't want to be the one to experience it. So that limb is going to get trimmed up higher, but not removed. I'm not going to trace it all the way back because it has other limbs growing off of it that helps fill out that tree. You know what I'm saying? So I am not an arborist. I am not a professional in any way, shape, or form. I just know what I like, and as far as my trees go, that one there has a special pass of being able to have tree limbs that can hang a little lower, just because it's an absolutely phenomenally gorgeous tree. I mean, that's just something else. This palm tree is kind of stealing some thunder right here, but that tree is absolutely gorgeous. All right, so when I look at that tree, I don't see anything else but that tree. That's, you know, something about, I really like that tree a lot. A lot of birds in that tree too, it's nice. Anyway, so with this one here, when I was working on this tree here, a small tree, basically I dropped this stuff, the material, I dropped the limbs and everything to the ground. I cut them up in small 4 to 6 foot sections and everything for the polar cart, because if it fits in the polar cart, it's more than good to go for the burn pit, all right? I'll talk about that in a little bit. The other trees that you see in the background back over there, I've already lifted those up a little bit. I got a couple more to work on over there. I got a little bit more work to do on those trees as well, but I got the dangerous stuff up out of my face, right? And then for this tree over here, I did far too much work. Now, it wasn't that bad. I cut things up, put them in a polar cart, and took them over here. But what I did is I cut everything up first, then loaded it in the polar cart, then brought it over here one by one by one, right? There had to be an easier way, and for this tree over here, that's great, they fit in the same shot, right? So this little tree over here was a lot more work than it was for this tree over here, even though this is a lot more material that we're gonna burn up today. So with that, we're talking about burning and fires. Before I talk about the loads that I brought over in a polar cart and how I did that, let's talk about some of the fire suppression equipment that we have here. I have 2 devices that I can use. I have the Kubota tractor in the background here, and I have the Toro zero-turn mower up here. The zero-turn is the last kind of last-ditch effort to try to, you know, put out a small bit of a fire. You know, and I can explain that later on. But it's, you know, more actually, in all honesty, it's more basically because that's a nice, comfortable seat to sit on. Got the nice armrest and everything. Sit back. It doesn't kick back, which would be nice too. But I can use it as a nice chair to sit here while I'm monitoring the fire. The Kubota tractor back there is the fire suppression. In fact, we purchased the tractor specifically as a fire suppression device to do 2 things. Help me in raising up the levels of the trees, which it does quite a bit, and also to put out a fire if a fire starts wanting to get a little bit out of control. All right, so this is our fire suppression equipment. We also have a hose at the ready. And I got to tell you, a garden hose coming off of a house is not going to put out a fire, but it can help control a fire. So we have it at the ready to go. I just basically grab the hose and start running with it over to here to wet down the ground around the fire if need be. I've never needed that yet. I have used it twice to extinguish a fire that wasn't done burning at the end of the day, because an hour before sunset we have to put the fire out. If it's still burning, you have to put it out. That's Department of Agriculture, State of Florida, Department of Agriculture regulations. You have to put the fire out an hour before sunset, right? So this experimental part, I'm grabbing my tripod by the center post, lifting it up and bringing it over here to show you the loads of material I brought over from that tray, right? So there are 12 loads. Let me put this down here. There's 12 loads of material. These are polar cart loads. They're pretty high. I piled it up pretty high, right? There's 5 more loads in the burn pit already, ready to go, okay? Now I want to bring your attention down here to the limbs that you see right here. These are not tree trunks. They're limbs, right? But it looks like it could be like a tree, you know? I mean, this thing was like 40 feet long. The other thing I want to say about that, I want to add to it, all this material that you see here, all of this stuff was cut up with 3 different tools. Cut up small, the manual tool that I had was my Fiskars handsaw. I showed that in another video. Got my Fiskars handsaw. There are small branches and everything. They might be as big as a finger, maybe like 3 fingers. You know, you take 3 fingers like that, maybe that size of a branch, 2 inches or less. Handsaw cuts real through, cuts like butter, right? Gets the job done. The other thing is my Fiskars pole saw, which I need to make a video about how I repaired that because it broke over there when I was working on the barn. You know, a limb fell down and snapped it right in half. So I fixed it. I was able to repair that, and I need to make a video on showing how I did that. But the Fiskars pole saw gets some limbs that are, they're high up, but they're, thin. They're maybe 3.5 inches. Cut those down with that. And then, but most of it actually was done with the chainsaw. Now that's the Ryobi electric, it's a Ryobi 40 volt electric chainsaw. This is version 2 where the battery goes on the bottom, slides in from the side of the chainsaw. The version 1, which I had, which really did far more work than I expected it to do, you put the battery through the top behind the handle, right? I think they probably still sell both versions. Maybe, maybe not. Anyways, but I got version 1, worked great. And I got version 2, it's already done far more work than I expected it to do. And it did all of this, okay? All of the big work on this, it did all of it. And a lot of limbing of the tree too. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. So the Ryobi 40 volt electric chainsaw worked well. The Fiskars manual saws do an incredible job. I'm continually impressed by those. In fact, that's pretty much why I bought them. I figured I was going to be impressed by them. I bought them and I was, And the Toro tractor, the Toro mower here, by the way, I purchased this because when we bought the house, the previous owner had a Toro. It was a 14-year-old Toro, and I was beating that thing to death. And I eventually killed it, but it did a phenomenal job in reclaiming a lot of the property. So we bought a bigger, better, badder, professional, and updated Toro mower. And that's why we bought that. The Kubota tractor, we bought that. I got to make a video about why and how we selected this particular tractor. And I'll make a standalone video on that because you're looking at John Deere, RK, which is like Rural King. Okay, so RK tractors, and then Kubota, right? And I'll talk about that. I'll make a standalone video on why we selected specifically this one here, which should be kind of interesting. And then anyway, so that's going to wrap this up, I think, for this video here. I'm not going to show the actual fire, me starting the fire and doing that and everything else. And the reason for that, I want to explain, because some people have asked me, hey, what about the fire? You never actually show the fire. And I just want to say the honest reason why I don't do that. Because there is no safe fire, in my personal opinion. I've never seen a safe fire. Fires will do the strangest things at the strangest times and shock you every single time. So I want to put 100% of my focus on the fire. That's why I brought the 2 devices out here. The seats for both of these, to me, are comfortable to me at different times of the day. It's like, this seat here, the cushy Toro seat, is more comfortable part of the day, and other parts of the day the Kubota seat is more comfortable. It just depends. And sometimes, and believe it or not, sometimes I'll take that bucket, I lift it up off the ground a little bit and tilt it a little bit, and I actually sit on the metal bucket, and believe it or not, even that is more comfortable to me depending on the time of day, how long I've been sitting or working on a fire. It's very, very hot at the fire. The coals get extremely hot, and that's why it's such an effective fire and it gets the job done. But there's different reasons why I have all these things here. But mostly it's, we got the work done with the tree, brought the piles over to the burn pit, brought the fire suppression equipment over, Got it. They got the hose at the ready to good to go in case it's needed. It never has been so far, and but we have everything good to go, right? And the ground, by the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. I hope I did, but the ground is sand. Underneath this grass right here, it looks like a really great park and all that and everything. There's nothing but sand here. So some grass roots go into the ground a little bit, but for the most part, it's sand. So the ground itself is another part of the fire suppression here, which is accepted and understood in our county and the state of Florida. And I follow the regulations and recommendations of the Department of Agriculture in the state of Florida, and I'm real cautious. Basically, I work scared when I'm dealing with a fire. So that's why I don't record those on video. So I hope you appreciate that, and I appreciate that understanding in advance, right? So that's gonna wrap it up for this video. Don't forget to give me that thumbs up on this video. Let me know you like the video. Make a comment below. Let me know you came by to say hi. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate the support and the growth on the network. And until I catch you in the next video, take care and be well.